Okay, Govind, Chandran is back on the podcast. Safe is the short film. Last year we talked about, I always remember Mr. Nibbles,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And so Safe is a 20-minute short film. Awesome. It's probably doing well in the festival circuit as we speak. Great performance. And I think that's why it would motivated you to make the film, right? You were talking in the blog interview that you wanted to give Kelsey a showcase film.
Yeah, I'd worked with Kelsey before and we ended up co-writing Safe. But what really motivated to start that whole process was I watched her in another short film and I got jealous. I kind of thought they've
Okay.
got I've done comedies with her and all sorts of stuff, and I thought they got such a fantastic performance. And you know that thing where you say, I'd watch that person read the phone book, right?
Yeah.
That kind of triggered in my head of like I'd just watch a short that was just her, just I think she can still emote to the audience, and that kind of triggered this thing of I could do that. That could be an interesting sort of route to go to really showcase how good an actor she is to be able to hold the audience's attention, but then also to get them to emote, to feel empathy for her and go on this kind of journey without ever really cutting away from her. I kind of assumed she'd say no when I pitched the idea because I appreciate it's probably a terrifying thing to say, hey, you're going to be on screen for. I'll be honest and say I pitched it as like a 7 to 10 minute short film,
Okay.
and it kind of evolved as we wrote it. But yeah, it was very much about initially wanting to showcase that, and then once we knew the theme and the subject matter of what we wanted to deal with, then it very much became trying to bring authenticity to that and do justice to a very serious kind of issue and a very serious thing that happens. So then it became much more okay. We just trust each other. She trusts my directing. I trust her writing. Let's just see how honest we can be with this kind of a thing.
So she's a counselor, and I love how you guys did it, but I'll get to that later. But okay, so you guys kind of came up with this idea of like mental illness themes, counselor, and then you
Yeah.
guys kind of pitched ideas together. That's how you kind of came up with the concept.
Yeah, so I had seen during COVID, there were a lot of there was a genuine case during COVID where a judge, because they had to do a lot of trials online, a judge was dealing with someone that had been domestically abused. And midway through the call, you actually see the judge stop the call and say, is someone else in the room with you? And you realize that her abuser is in the room with her.
Oh, yeah.
And that always, and that luckily the judge in that case got the police over and everything. And that always stuck with me. And I kind of shared that story with Kelsey, and she feels very strongly about the issue of domestic violence. And she said, yes, I'd love to do something where we deal with that. Um, Both of us have a lot of positive experience with talking to counselors and people like that, and someone else on our crew is very good friends with a someone who's worked in this sphere as well, who came on board as a consultant. So we knew we had the right kind of group of people and the right kind of resources to be able to approach the subject. um, and I think we approached it kind of twofold, where I trusted Kelsey to deal with the as a writer, to kind of deal with the honesty of it, to make sure it was authentic to what it was. And she kind of trusted me with like the pacing and the structuring of it, but also I kind of took the approach of, because you want something that's also universal. It's hard hitting, but it's universal. And I took the approach of being someone that's on the other side of a phone call. So even if it's something as simple as, your friend calls you up and they're sad about something, you can't do anything about that. You are just stuck on this phone call and you
Yeah.
have to be there for them. Um, which is why we never wanted to glorify domestic violence. We never wanted to deal with all of that. Or even visually show it. We wanted to show the other person, the person that is struggling to deal with this situation from the other
Yeah.
sort of perspective.
But using the kind of post-COVID counseling kind of world that we live in, which still
Yeah.
exists now, right? Like a
Yeah.
lot of therapists are doing their calls on Zoom because we've learned that, well, instead of traveling an hour to get there, you could just do it on a call, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we if you've ever used YouTube, you've probably seen ads pop up here and there as well. The services are very sort of prevalent all over the place. So it felt like something that's more and more relevant to people. And counselors can kind of vary in terms of how trained they are and stuff like that. So we always thought it was an interesting situation to put a character in, but also something that I think most people can relate to in some form or another.
I like that. I find that interesting. You talking about the kind of the seed of the concept that you guys got, where the judge goes to someone else in the room. I wonder how many times there was those situations where the judge wasn't insightful enough that to even know that,
Exactly.
right? Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And I've, seen enough of that kind of happen and heard enough of it happen to people that I know as well, where um different circumstances could have made a situation much better. But at the same time, you are bound by one of the restrictions and one of the conflicts you'll have is there is a legal process you have to go through. In the case of the judge, that's great. The judge can make that call, but
yeah.
you can't just accuse someone of X or Y, and there has to be proof, there has to be evidence. You can't necessarily do things on a gut feeling, and that creates a sense of like powerlessness for your character and for people.
Well, that's the therapist's job, right? They're not. It's not to give them advice. It's for them to like be a listening magnet, I guess, right? To get
Exactly. Yeah.
to get their stuff come out of them, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think, yeah, for all of us involved, a lot of us who are involved teach at universities and things like that. So we have a certain amount of pastoral care for young people as well. So it was something that we all felt kind of very, very strongly about.
Okay, so you got the actor, and then there's obviously start on Zoom because it's sort of like I like that because it's telling us that we're in this world, and
Yeah.
like there's shows about therapy like all over the place, right? Um, like I'm thinking about Shrieking right now, right? It's about
Yeah. Yeah.
therapist office and obviously Sopranos and and et cetera, right?
Yeah.
So we never seen this world, right? And it's like, but then at the same time, well, it's not really cinematic, right?
No.
Yeah, to have
Yeah.
a
I think
Zoom call, right? Like,
no. As soon as we pitched the idea, our cinematographer kind of just shrugged and went, "Well,
yeah,
I'm kind of, screwed." But we kind of approached it as a challenge of how do we kind of keep it compelling. I'll be honest, it was terrifying from start to finish as a creative because you don't want to be cutting around. You don't want to create unnecessary pacing, right? It's going to take away from the honesty of that performance.
yeah,
So we also made life harder for us by myself and my cinematographer. We agreed we're not going to cut unless Kelsey gives us a reason to cut with her performance. So we again wanted to have that realism with it. So if we're ever cutting, it's for a very strong reason, not just because, oh, we've held on that shot for, a few seconds, let's cut away. So that did also scare us when we're in the planning process of how do we make this compelling? How do we make this cinematic, as you said? Um, and we kind of had to trust. We did a lot of sort of research into films of this type, films, because you have had films that kind of hold in single spaces or things like that, and looking then at how can you make sure there's depth in the image and stuff like that, but also make sure that it's going to hold the audience. And at the end of the day, we had to trust Kelsey and we had to trust the audience as well, that they will feel they will go on this journey, they will be open to that. And the first draft of the script we did, she picks up the phone and she starts explaining the therapy process to the caller.
yeah,
And as soon as we sort of reread that, we went, we don't have to over explain this. We can
yeah.
trust the audience to get into this world.
That's everybody, like I was saying, like the reference of therapy, people going to therapy themselves, but seeing it on, like everybody kind of knows the therapy room or the therapy kind of
Exactly.
concept, right? Dr. Phil, TV show, whatever,
Yeah,
right? Back in the day.
exactly. Yeah.
And so, but you got the scene on with her on the phone, sitting on the couch, talking on the phone, and you got like the close up, the long, you got kind of like all these stage, but what goes on? Well, what I'm curious about is the voiceover actress kind of
Yeah.
nails the role, and
Yeah.
that's not
She's
easy to
so
do.
good.
Yeah,
No, Fran is actually she's a terrific actress.
yeah,
I feel bad because obviously you only hear the voice, and that can maybe go underappreciated, but she's so good. Um, she's an actress I'd worked with before. I'd actually been introduced to her through Kelsey. They had acted in something together. They've become the best of friends. And the three of us actually have a web series together. It's a comedy series, very, very different. And we were working on that as, we were developing this. And I sent her the script to read just to get some feedback on and sort of as collaborators. And she immediately said, "Look, I think I can play this role." So she flat out just was direct with me and said, "I think I can do the role. I would like to do this role." And it was a no-brainer. We actually did not audition anyone for that role because it was, yeah, we knew the talent that she had. And again, it was one of those things which we had to be direct with her and say, if the audience don't feel that you're authentic, we've lost them. Kelsey can give the best possible performance, but if they don't feel a vulnerability to your voice, to what you're doing, and that did lead to the how do we film it so that they can both, get the authentic performance out of each other. So from a practical point of view, she's about 3, 4 feet off camera at a desk and doing it live. So we kind of filmed it like you'd film a play.
That's what I was curious about how you did it. So she's there. So she's
She's there.
like,
She's literally off camera. If you go off camera about this much, she's there at a desk with microphones and everything there so we could record it. And we recorded it live. So every
and you
take
used
you
that for
get,
the film. You used that recording. You
yeah,
didn't do it again.
no, never did it again. So
Oh,
anytime Kelsey is responding to the voice, that is the actual exact take that we matched up. We didn't even
wow.
swap takes with the voice recording. We multicam the film as well. So that's why we can easily sort of cut between the two. So it was multicammed and it was live. So we very much treated it like you would do a play and went, okay, we'll rehearse this and we'll go through it, and then we will run through it and sort of keep it again as authentic as we
I
can.
think it's like an 8 minute scene, right?
Yeah. The longest take we did was 9 minutes long. And yeah, I think the one we ended up was about eight something. Yeah.
Because you really only have three shots. You have the close up, you have like this the shot of the like the establishing shot, and then you have the cutaways of her talk writing on the pen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And they did that's all of those things except for the cutaways are all the exact same take that we
yeah.
did.
So you kind of just did the two shots, and then you
Yeah.
kind of
And
edit
then the
the.
cutaways.
That's really hard to pull off. Like you don't really see
Yeah.
that often in filmmaking.
No, it was a gamble.
Yeah,
But I knew that I wanted to give Kelsey the freedom to not be bound by continuity. So I didn't want to cut a take and go, you know what, you put your hand here on that take or you adjusted this or that. So I knew from the get-go we were going to multicam it because of that. But then as we rehearsed it, Kelsey and Fran both came to me and said, "Look, we want to be in the same space and do it. We don't want it to be sort of a stand-in. We don't want to re-record the voice. We feel we can play off each other and bring something to it." And again, like I think they did a great job, so I can't complain.
So and also like it's just so interesting that you kind of pulled that off because like were you scared like when you shot it like okay is this gonna work when in editing?
Yeah, I think nobody else. I think that the terrible thing about this film was everybody else had complete faith in me, and I was terrified.
Okay.
Uh, and I was terrified during the editing process as well. So I edited the film, and I remember watching it back and going, the first time I watched it, I thought this is fantastic. Second time I watched it, I thought, oh God, I've made a long film
Yeah.
with a lot of long takes. The third time I watched it, I thought, I'm enjoying it. So by the time I finished editing it, I had no idea. I couldn't be honest with myself in that sense because I lived it so much.
Yeah.
So there was definitely a fear of, is this going to work? Is with audiences, with festival programmers, to be honest, would they look at this and go, "Oh, good God, he's got an 8 minute take in there," um, and 20 minutes is already, as I'm sure you know, a difficult kind of time for festivals. So there was a lot of trust between all of us, and I remember one of the deals I kind of had with Kelsey was always be honest with me and always like hold me accountable. I remember messaging her and kind of being like, "Are there things we should cut?" And she went, "No. The script is what it is, and we both believe in that." And I fully agree with her. So we knew we weren't going to cut that. We did have a few sort of smaller like cutaways that we did kind of remove, but for the
Yeah.
most part, it is what it is.
You
Yeah.
don't move the camera at all. Like the camera does. Did you ever think in prep or like on set
Yeah.
that you wanted
Yeah.
to move the camera a little bit?
Yeah, so the way I work is when we get a film in pre-production, I sit down with the cinematographer and we come up with what we've titled the rules of cinematography. So each film has a separate set of rules and we
Yeah.
decide that beforehand. So then if we want to make changes on set, we still have to adhere to those rules, right? To maintain a style. So in this one, the biggest rule was there is no camera movement until the final shot that tracks in on her when she's kind of making the 911 call.
Yeah.
So I knew from the get-go that was going to be the only movement shot in the film. There's some shots of her by the beach, and we knew that was going to be handheld or shoulder
Yeah.
mounted kind of shots, but that narratively is like the last thing that takes place. So we knew we couldn't do any movement beforehand because we wanted to, through cinematography, show that progression as well.
So then you get the next phone call, which is in your character's listening more than talking. I'm
Yeah,
just
of
being general, of course, but you
course, yeah,
change the cinematic design, right? Where like she's
yeah.
standing up, not sitting down. She's at the kitchen. Then you got the shot between the kind of like
The
between the
blinds, yeah,
dray the what do you call it,
the blinds, yeah,
and then yeah, the blinds, sorry, which is a metaphor, obviously, right? But everybody
yeah,
can kind of interpret their own idea to that
yeah.
shot. And then you got the other long shot as well. So you kind of give us a different cinematic look without moving the camera. Because generally speaking, like I love that how you just described your rules. Because generally speaking, when you're shooting in a house like this, is one location. I know you got the secondary location, but you kind of move the camera, kind of give the audience some,
Yeah.
but you don't do that, right? So
No, the decision was we want this to be as real as possible and feel as real as possible. So the way we position the camera, there is a certain amount of almost voyeurism to it, right? So you've got like the dirty shot and stuff like that. Um, but the more we move the camera, the more it becomes a film and the less you feel like that's an authentic thing that I'm watching.
yeah,
There's nothing wrong with, someone else could make the super cinematic filmic version of this. We knew we wanted it to really be about the emotion and be about that. So we and the actors shared that vision as well. So because of that, it was an easy decision to make, a harder decision, as you say, to get over your own fears of
yeah.
how do we pull this off. But again, I trusted the cinematographer, trusted the actors, and yeah, I that shot through the blinds, I'm really proud of our cinematographer for pulling off. Most people, we've shown it at quite a few festivals, and one of the questions we always get is whether that was a composite shot, whether we actually, composited in the blinds after. And
Yeah.
no, we did everything practical. We shot through the blinds. Kelsey hit her mark every time. So like when she's sad, you get a moment where it covers her eyes
Because
and
you don't, because it's like it's focusing, it has to focus on her face, right? So
exactly,
the
yeah.
camera can kind of
And
like zoom, like if anybody's, like, say someone's on the phone, right? If you're
yeah,
looking at two focal points, it's going to
yeah,
go
it's gonna
back to,
shift.
yeah, it's going to shift back and forth, right? But
Yeah.
yeah,
And we wanted to play with that sort of imperfections of that kind of a frame and stuff like that. So
yeah,
um again, yeah, it was, the metaphor of being trapped behind that and sort of caged in there. But I think when people ask me about that scene and about the subsequent scenes, I kind of go, at that point in the film, I took the policy of I've either got the audience or lost the audience by this point in the
sure.
film, right?
Yeah.
And if I've got the audience, I can almost do what I want, respectfully do what I want, because we have their attention, we have them on the journey with us. If I have lost them at this point, nothing I do is going to bring them back into this story. So I had to trust that the original call will get them in there, and then we can kind of go on this journey together, and I can take a few more liberties in that sense.
She's got the audience, right? Like, can
She's
you
got,
do
yeah,
that?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I had complete faith in Kelsey on this. Yeah,
Yeah. So what did she think of the film when she saw it?
yeah. She loved it. She and I've collaborated quite a few times. This was something we both felt so strongly about as we kind of went through the process.
Yeah.
And yeah, she absolutely loved it. We had a screening here just for sort of casting crew kind of thing, and yeah, it was a very emotional kind of thing to watch it through with everyone again,
Yeah.
and kind of I was terrified because at this point she hasn't, watched it through.
Yeah.
But yeah, she absolutely loves it.
So does she break a rule at the end? Like you're not, are you allowed to do what she did at the end?
You are because the person calling her, the caller Sophie, has said like, "Yes, I want you to call the police."
Okay,
So
gotcha.
that is a literal like direct cry for help and cry for
But she can't go there. Like she can't like
you wouldn't.
go
No, I mean it would be
be the
dangerous for
hero.
you. Yeah, you being the hero is the filmic version of what happens, but
Yeah,
in reality, that's probably the most dangerous thing you can do is go to that house yourself, right?
yeah.
You have to call the authorities and leave it in their hands. That pizza thing is a real thing that happened, and that's become a kind of code for women as well.
Okay.
So that
No garlic
again,
bread.
yeah. So there's an entire language
Yeah,
around sort of making a call so that it doesn't seem like you're calling 911. So people can call 911, order a pizza or 999 wherever you are,
yeah.
order a pizza and use that. And emergency services know to ask the right questions to then get those answers.
Oh, I had no idea. That's interesting. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, though, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I mean,
Well, I guess if you're a man, you're not really supposed to know that, right?
no, I think it's one of those
You
things
know what I
which
mean, right? Like,
yeah, yeah, of course.
yeah,
No.
yeah,
It's one of those things which again, when I first was drafting the script, we left it ambiguous. We didn't
yeah,
have that sequence. And everyone who was reading it was saying, we were with you, and then you left us unsatisfied. There has to be a catharsis to this. We
yeah,
have to kind of go through this. So we looked through like various different ways this could be done and feel cathartic for everyone.
yeah.
And yeah, came across the fact that yeah, people are using pizza calls as a code.
So that like it's interesting because like you're a therapist and you know that someone's in a different like a different close by, but they're getting harmed. They're getting
Yeah.
hurt, right? And so you feel that because you know like somewhere in the world that you know like some in the world right now someone's getting hurt, of course, right?
Yeah.
But someone that you know that you just talked to on the phone isn't harmed and you know where they live, right? And it's like you can't help but want to do something about that, right?
Yeah. Of course, yeah. But you can't.
That's what I
And
mean. It's so crazy, right? Like it's
yeah.
yeah,
And we have that, I mean, I'm a teacher, I have that with students, and I'm
yeah,
sure anyone who's cared for another person has experienced that at different levels and different intensities.
yeah,
So it's really about that feeling of helplessness for both parties, for the victim of abuse, but also the person that wants to help them.
yeah. That's yeah. You nailed something in the film. So
Thanks.
I think it's a unique take. I don't think I've seen that before. So
No, we did do a lot of research to go, okay, has this been done
yeah,
before, and is this something we can kind of do? It's been interesting taking it to festivals because we only wrapped in July.
yeah,
So the turnaround was pretty fast, and we've taken it to some festivals, and the response has been really, really good and really heartwarming because people are coming up to us after and wanting to talk about that process or how it spoke to something they've gone through or someone they know has gone through.
yeah,
So it's definitely something that unfortunately we don't talk about it a lot, but a lot of people have some version of experience or are just slightly removed from someone they care about that's had that experience as well. So it's been an emotional journey kind of
yeah.
sharing the film with people,
That's
really.
amazing. Well, it's a great film. You're a great filmmaker, and this is the second film that we've showed from you.
Yeah.
So and so I'm assuming you want to get into the features, right?
Yeah, the next thing I'm trying to work on at the moment is features. The difficulty with features is the funding
Yeah,
element of it. But that's what we're kind of working on. Again, we're taking lessons from this in how we worked with, limited locations and low budget and that sort of stuff. And trying to kind of build on that. I'm collaborating with Kelsey again, and Kelsey, myself, and Fran do have the web series Do We Eat Him that's ongoing, and we're developing that as well.
well, congratulations on the success, and I can't wait to see you kind of turn this into a feature. She's great, and she like it's a great showcase of both of your talents because it's like that's what shows me that's what I'm most impressed about as a filmmaker, especially in the short film realm, where like you don't get too busy. You just
Yeah,
basically kind of have that confidence to tell the story the best possible way and saying, hey, I can be showy here. Let me show you my filmmaking skills. But you serve the
completely.
story the best possible way.
Yeah, thanks. And that's something we were all
Yeah,
very conscious about, that there could be a cooler shot here, but it doesn't service the story, right? There could be something flashy to do, but it doesn't service the story or the characters. And
cool.
yeah, no, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, let's talk again when you make your next film. I appreciate your time.
Will do. Thanks a lot.
Thank
Take
you.
care.